Hey plant nerds, welcome back to my channel. So as you can see, I'm not in my normal filming location because I am currently out on a floating city with a giant park in the middle of it. This is the Oasis of the Seas by Royal Caribbean, and this is a massive, massive ship that created a green space, an angeti, a paradise, in the middle of the ship, surrounded by cabins, and a place where you can relax and see all of these beautiful plants. I thought that today I'd walk through and show you a little bit of what they have here. To be honest, we waited until the last day of this cruise to film this, and that probably wasn't the best idea because we are headed back to Florida and it's supposed to be the coldest it's been there in a while, so I am bundled up. But I promised the other days of this cruise we were in shorts and t-shirts and enjoying the sun. Today, the ship's rocking really bad and it's chilly, but we're still gonna go for this and show you guys some of these beautiful plants in this central park. The gardeners on this ship have really added a lot of structure with the plants to this whole park area, a lot of depth and a lot of height. And one thing that they use a lot are these lady palms. You can see these kind of interspersed throughout the entire ship, and they are such a beautiful plant with a lot of structure. And then a lot of the areas you'll see this aglaonema, and they use that mainly for ground cover. And you can kind of see in the bottom of the aglaonema, to kind of hide what all of these plants are sitting in, is pothos that are just intertwined in the ground to kind of act as a ground cover, because all of these plants in the system that they're planted in are these metal boxes that are each numbered, and they fit into each of these garden beds like a puzzle. And so they can pull them out if they want to change them up and change them out, or take out some dead ones, or just freshen them up without having to dig up plants and have all their roots intertwined through these beds. But to kind of create the image of this being an actual garden without all of that mechanics behind it, I think they've thrown some pothos in there just so you can't see behind the curtain. Another way they've added height to this garden is our wonderful snake plants here. Sansevieria, now classified as Dracaena, but there is this beautiful section of these snake plants that just give some nice height to this little section of the garden, and they're so beautiful and they're growing so tall. And then if you look back here, they've started to add in some of this Dracaena, this lemon lime Dracaena, and then you have some green Schefflera back there as well. But this gives a beautiful, vibrant color to this garden. And another one of my favorite things about this whole park is how they've used epiphytes in the trees to mimic a natural growing habitat. The arborists here have planted a bunch of trees from around the world, and they've added in things like this beautiful staghorn fern. There's a few staghorn ferns around this park, but this one is by far the biggest, and it has these giant shield fronds growing and these fertile fronds, and it's wrapping itself around this entire tree. This entire trellis that I'm standing under that you can walk through at night, it's just gorgeous, is filled with pothos. You can see them dangling everywhere. Gorgeous, green, marbled, beautiful, but also through this trellis is bougainvillea. They have covering the whole top, so it kind of gives shade. If the sun is at high noon, you can come in here and you can sit down in these seating areas and relax. and kind of get away from the sun but stay in the garden. I swear every time I come into this park I see something different that I hadn't seen before. And just now when we were coming in here I saw that they have some ZZ plants back here, and I think they're just testing them out to see how they'll do, because I do see a few interspersed throughout the garden in this little section. They're still in pots as well, they're not planted into these boxes, so I'm wondering if they're just testing them out just to see how they're gonna do on this ship traveling around the world, and if they're gonna like it. But ZZs are a very hardy plant, so I think they'll be fine. But another beautiful feature, which you probably can't see, maybe we'll just walk back this way and try to get it behind. They have these two giant green walls on this ship, and they go from this deck, which is deck 8, all the way up to deck 12, so 4 stories high. And there's so many different plants planted in them, and some that I can pick out just by looking. There's obviously some ferns. You have a lot of pothos to just green up the space. There are a few thematophyllums up there. There is a couple really big philodendrons. I think maybe it's just the red Congo or the Rojo Congo. And there are some monstera up there. Those plants are they're climbing plants, so they stick out a bit further, but they're just so gorgeous. And this green wall, it may be one of my favorite, ship's rocking. This green wall might be one of my favorite things about this entire Central Park area. Another thing that you'll see plenty of in this park, which adds just a lot of color and beauty, are these orchids that are attached to the trees. I think at least every tree here has probably an orchid attached to it, and these roots of these orchids are just clinging onto these trees, much like they would in all the tropical areas. They're climbing up the branches, and they're fully just attached to those trees. And a lot of them, actually all of them that I've seen, are flowering, so they're all very happy and taken well care of. But it adds a nice, beautiful pop of color to the area, and gives it a tropical feel here, and it gives it like an exotic feel. Another little section they have set up here, you can see some bird nest ferns, you can see some more orchids on these decorative pieces of wood, and some bromeliads, and some kangaroo paw fern down here as well. So they have a little epiphytic section set up here. And something I didn't notice before, but I can see now, is a little bird of paradise and these giant canna lilies, I believe is what they are. There's some elephant ears back there too. I just feel like every time I look in this area, I see something I hadn't seen before. But this little section is really cute with the way that they have all of these mounted orchids and ferns. I personally feel this ship is very aptly named Oasis of the Seas, because we are out in the middle of the ocean and we have this beautiful oasis here. And Central Park is a beautiful little green space to get away, and I think a lot of cruise ships are doing this now. There's quite a few little spots here to eat. You have a couple bars. A bar, one of our favorites, called the Trellis Bar. There's a wine bar out here called Vintages. You have a restaurant that's free included in your fare called the Park Cafe, where you can just grab little sandwiches. In the morning you can get bagels and coffee and all of that stuff and just eat it out here on the park spaces. They kind of act like a lanai. And then you also have restaurants that are premium restaurants. The steakhouse here on the Oasis of the Seas, Chops Grill, is out here, which has an indoor-outdoor experience. And then the most premium restaurant on this ship is Park 150, that is also located at Central Park. Again, giving people the experience. They can eat inside if they'd like, or they can eat out on a terrace and kind of get the whole experience of being in a park. It also houses the Rising Tides Bar, which is a bar that will move to this floor from deck number 5. So you can get on it at deck 5 and it will rise up, and you can get off of it here on deck 8, or you can do vice versa. And lastly, since this area is open to the elements, you have no roof over your head. It's not a skylight, it's completely open. If it's inclement weather, if it rains, there are free umbrellas stationed at every section of this park. So even if you're out here in the ocean and it's downpouring, You can pull up an umbrella and take a walk through the park. I never expected to be floating out on a city in the ocean with a giant green area where you can just relax and enjoy nature. Well guys, thanks for joining me in today's video. I hope you enjoyed seeing this green space out in the ocean, this floating city. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And I hope maybe this gives you a little like excitement to maybe go on a cruise. And if you want to, check out my second channel called Waypoint Explored, where I do vlogs about cruises with my partner. Then you can see more experience of a cruise than just this quick little video in the garden. But this definitely has been our favorite place on this ship, and I wanted to show you guys because I know you guys all love plants too. I think what they need though is a few Hoya. So I should have brought some and just like stuck them to a tree and hoped they would take. But as always, I appreciate you hanging out with me. Thanks for watching.